Hello, I am Lydia, and today I'm going to be talking about Wasao. You guys will never believe the setup that you're on right now. So you're on a tripod, a mini tripod, that's wrapped around, it has those legs that are bendy, and you're wrapped around a nosy bear. How special. It's actually kind of a funny setup if you ask me. Usually people put their tripods like on boxes or makeshift something, but you're like wrapped around a nosy bear, and I just think that's sweet. But sadly, you'll never see that. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about Wasao. I haven't seen it in a little while, even though I own it, but I do kind of remember it, you know? And I just felt like talking about it today. So, to preface this, I'm neurodivergent, okay? Which might seem unrelated to Wasao, but I have a special interest, and my special interest is dog breeds. It has been since I was a kid, really, but I've had many different special interests over my years of living, and dog breeds have always remained, and dog training and all of this. And I have a lot of favorite dog breeds, as you can imagine, and I could talk about them forever. So don't even get me started. But my favorite dog breed is the Japanese Akita Inu. Okay, so a lot of people get them confused with a Shiba Inu, but think of it this way, if you have to, okay? Akita Inu, Japanese Akita Inu, Hachiko. We all know that movie, it's beloved. He's a big dog, right? Shiba Inu is little, very small. And they're the Doge dog. Their faces are a lot more like pointy and little. They're a small dog. So that's the difference. I like the big ones. I like the big ones a lot. So that's the thing, is I love dog breeds, and the Japanese Akita is my favorite dog breed. And I can't wait to own one day. Trust me. I do realize that they are a powerful dog. But I have a special interest in dogs, and of course my favorite being the Japanese Akita. I am like, okay, what knowledge can I obtain about that breed? What can I read about them? Is there movies about them? Of course, we all know Hachi. I've definitely seen that movie, although it is a hard watch, a very hard watch. I love that movie. One day I hope to own it, just to have it a part of my collection, I guess. But I don't own Hachi, ironically. The only movie about a Japanese Akita that I own is not Hachi, but is Wasao. It's kind of funny that I own Wasao but not Hachi to me, but when researching the Japanese Akita and researching what I can learn about them and any information that can be at my disposal, like where is that? What movies can I watch? What books can I read? All of that. The movie Wasao came up for me, and I'm like, okay, what is this? And of course I gave it a watch. I gave it a watch online like many years ago, and then I was like, man, what was that movie about? I think I watched it when I was like sick or something, because I didn't really remember it. I was like, what was the deal with that movie again? And then I couldn't find it online again, and so I ended up having to buy it. But it wasn't that expensive, and it's just very weird for me to own this movie, I guess, just because like I don't own very many movies at all. I actually don't even own a TV. I watch them on my laptop. And I only have like a few movies at all because I am a very like sensitive person, I guess. And so like movies, loud noises, anything can be too much for me, honestly. So I don't even own a whole lot of movies. I would like to build a collection of movies that I really love. But I love a lot of weird movies, so you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the classic blockbuster movies that you think of typically. Which I know sounds like a humble brag or like a like a flex, but truly you can't have solid conversations with people while saying, you know what my favorite movie is? The Merry Widow. You know what I mean? The 34 movie, The Merry Widow. People are like, what? Literally, what is that? I like Inception. I like The Dark Knight. You know what I mean? That's another movie that I have is The Merry Widow. And it's great. It is one of my favorites. It's just so much. I could go into talking about this movie in itself, and maybe I will one of these days. But I also have a Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton box set, duo set of 4 movies. I also have the Lord of the Rings somewhere, and the entire Brady Bunch show collection, like the whole entire series, because I love the Brady Bunch. But see, I don't have a whole lot of movies in my collection. I do have, however, Wasao, and eventually maybe Hachi, just because then I'll have both the Japanese Akira Inu movies. But I do like Wasao as a movie. Wasao is not your typical Japanese Akira Inu. He is a long-coated Japanese Akita. So that's kind of interesting. That's kind of why he looks more fluffy, okay, than some of the other Japanese Akitas typically do. And I guess the whole premise of Wasao in the movie is that he is this stray dog. How he becomes a stray is that one day as a puppy, he runs away from this little boy because he felt that he did something bad. He felt like I don't remember the specifics of what happens, but he runs away from this little boy because he feels that he did wrong by this little boy, and he runs away. And he becomes a stray, but he always watches this little boy from afar and always is interested in him and has this connection with him. And is always kind of like a distant protector. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. What I liked about this story is that, yes, Wasao is the namesake. Yes, Wasao is the main character, technically. But really the main character is, I guess you could say, the little boy. But really there's not a particular main character per se. The movie is sort of about a bunch of different people in the town and their stories and how they all come together. And Wasao is sort of like a side plot. I mean, they're all kind of like these different side plots that end up kind of coming together in a way. Which I like that. You know, I really noticed that I believe it is Japanese, this movie, and It has English subtitles and maybe English dub. I'm actually not sure. I might have just watched the subtitles. Yeah, I think it's just English subtitles, and you can get Chinese subtitles. But it is from Japan. And it is interesting because I noticed this when I watched My Neighbor Totoro, like as a kid or growing up, and when I watched I've watched other Miyazaki movies too. I don't remember which ones I've seen now, but I enjoy how a lot of the other Japanese movies from Japan that I've watched in the past, they don't really have like a main plot and then these tiny little subplots. They kind of have like, the whole thing is like different subplots. There's not really like a leading plot that takes precedence all overall. That's at least what it seems like. You know what I mean? Like when I watched Totoro for the first time, I was kind of fascinated by that. The fact that like, yeah, Totoro is the namesake of the movie. He's kind of in the background. He's not really the main thing. The mother being sick, it is a bigger plot point, but it's not the main thing. These kids go on many different adventures and a lot of different things happen, and that's not even the, sometimes they don't even feel integral to the plot necessarily, but it's like you're just watching this story unfold. You know, that isn't necessarily so in your face that this is the plot and this is where it's going and this is the resolution. It's this sort of gradual way of storytelling, and I really appreciate that. And Wasao's no different from that in the sense that it just sort of has all these different plot points that are going on and they're all kind of happening. And I guess you could say that there are some aspects of it that are the plot point, but there's not like a leading plot, I would say. I mean, there's also moments where Wasao is secretly the hero, where nobody realizes that in the movie, and I really enjoy that. And I don't think anybody even realizes in the end that he was the hero, but it's just, like, Wasao's just a good dog. He's a stray, though. And there's this big race that happens, and you're kind of like hoping for the victory for these people who are in the race, even though they aren't the focal point of the plot either. And I really enjoy that about Wasao. And this mysterious bear, that was the only point of the movie that I laughed, because it's a good movie. It's beautiful as well, but it's a good movie, you know, but that was the only point of the movie where I laughed, is because during the point where they're all hunting for this bear that keeps destroying some of their crops and becoming quite a nuisance in town, the only shot that you see of the bear itself is like clearly a fake bear. It just looks like a puppet. It's quite humorous to me. I don't think it was supposed to be humorous, but I found it funny. Also, the way this movie was shot is quite beautiful. I wouldn't say the acting is great. It's okay. And I used to, you know, I don't know. I've seen a lot of other Japanese films in the past with far better acting than this. I don't know if it's just considered low budget. I don't know. It might be. It kind of all takes place in similar locations and kind of in a small area, so it could be low budget. I'm not really sure, but it is beautiful. It's beautifully shot, I will say that much. The lighting has a very light exposure to it, and they have a lot of shots of Wasao in this tall tan beach grass, and the way the dog's fur looks in it is just gorgeous. And throughout this movie, Wasao is very interested in this red ball right here that this boy gives him, and it just pops on the screen. It's great. And it's all like on seaside and like kind of in a fishing town, and it's quite lovely, I guess I should say. It's quite lovely. So there is that about it. It's quite an aesthetic movie. But yeah, it's not great acting. I wouldn't say that I was watching it for the acting. I think there's a lot of beauty about it though. What else to say about this movie? A big focal point of this is that they consider Wasao ugly cute. I mean, even on the title here. Oh, can you read that at all? There you go. Yeah, it says, a heartwarming story of the ugly but cute dog. And I just found this funny because I don't know if it's like this just in the West or in the United States or what have you. I don't know what makes it this way. But like, from where I'm from in the United States, there is no world in which Wasao is considered ugly, even in the slightest. Like if you saw Wasao that as a stray dog in America, that's, wow, what a gem. What an adorable dog that you've found. What a lucky surprise that you found such a cute dog as a stray. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Like, in no world, in my world, is Wasao considered ugly. And I'm like, is that just like a thing over there where they would consider this dog quite ugly, especially since it is a stray? But he's never that dirty, I don't think, from what I remember in the movie. Is that why he would be considered ugly over there? Is because he maybe was dirty and a stray is sort of considered ugly? I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of funny because I'm like, in what world is Wasao ugly? You know what I mean? Like, literally the fluffiest, cutest thing roaming around. Why would that be ugly? But I thought that was kind of funny because they would even say things like, oh, he's so ugly, but kind of cute. And you're like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean he's ugly? I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. But it was overall a pretty cute movie. Definitely not like a favorite, you know. I think it's good. I think if you want to watch movies about Akira Inu, like I did, then sure, give it a watch. You know what I mean? I also think it's interesting that Wasao, the dog who played Wasao, was actually a stray dog in Japan. And I guess they found him. I don't really know how it led them to making this movie, but then he starred in this movie and they made a movie about him. You know, I don't know how much that is shown in this movie is based off of his life. I would imagine very little, because I don't know how they would know this. You know, how would they know that these experiences happened to this dog? But I think it is kind of interesting that they used this stray dog that they found and had him star in his own movie. And when you're watching the movie with those, you know, through that lens and through that knowledge, you can tell that the dog isn't like doing anything crazy. You know what I mean? Which I appreciate, that they didn't make this stray dog do like crazy stunts or like be this, I don't know, this actor. You know what I mean? This is, as far as I know, this is the only movie that Wasao ever starred in, and it's about him. So it's pretty cool. And I mean, for the most part, he is just sort of in the background, just sort of watching the boy. And I appreciate that they didn't make him go above and beyond for this movie to doing anything professional or crazy, having him already been a stray. You know what I mean? It's kind of a lot to put on a dog who lived its life in the wild or as a stray. What else? There was something else I was going to say. I swear. But it's a very cute movie, and I really enjoyed it. I think Wasao, sweet Wasao, passed away a couple years ago. But I think there was a point also where you were able to visit Wasao in Japan and, you know, visit the people who filmed the movie and who owned him and all that. So that was neat. Oh, the other point that I was going to make is that I do think it's funny that there's this stereotype with Japanese Akita that they don't play fetch. Just based off of their personality, and of course the movie Hachi really played into that as well, where Hachi never played fetch with his owner. It just really showcases how these dogs are very different than your average dog. Even though I've seen some Akita play fetch, you know what I mean? So it's not really that uncommon, but I think that's a funny stereotype. And I also, with that, thought it was quite funny that throughout this movie, this dog is playing with this red ball, right? I'll show you again, he's on there. Even as a puppy, playing with this red ball, and they always kind of like allude to this boy playing ball with this dog, and you kind of think, oh, maybe they're gonna be playing fetch, but they never play fetch, and they never once show Wasao retrieving the ball, and I don't think they intended that in the movie. I really don't think they intended to. It didn't look like they were trying to make a point that they don't play fetch, but I did think it was kind of funny that the Akita didn't naturally play fetch with the little boy to the point where, you know, they couldn't catch that on camera. It just definitely played further into the stereotype, if you ask me, and I thought it's a funny stereotype. I personally enjoy that stereotype because it does kind of showcase the Akita's very independent personalities. So I really liked that. It was just a little Easter egg, I think, because I don't think they intended for that to be like a noticeable, you know, thing. Yeah. All of that being said and discussed, I think I'm very glad that they don't have more movies about Japanese Akita. I'm also really glad that the movie Hachi didn't seem to create a boom in popularity for the Japanese Akita. I'm actually surprised that it didn't, and maybe it did in some locations, but I personally have yet to meet a Japanese Akita in real life, even though the movie Hachi is well renowned, you know. So I am very glad that they don't have movies out about them, but on the other hand, I also wish there were more movies about certain dog breeds, because I enjoy watching through observing and through storytelling, despite not owning many movies and not being a movie lover per se. But there's a lot of different dog breeds that I think it would be so interesting to have a movie about them, or just sort of a tale about their life and what they're like a little bit. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts. I think it's maybe also important to note that these dogs aren't for everybody. I mean, not that I think Wasao's this sort of a movie that's going to create a boom where people will want to buy Japanese Akita, but if you do watch this movie, just keep in mind that even though Wasao is extremely cute, Japanese Akita in general, even American Akitas, are really not a breed for everybody. And what I mean by that is you have to be a very certain type of, a very specific type of a person to own them. And you have to have a certain type of a lifestyle. You can't really expect them to be a dog. You know what I mean? If you want a dog, maybe don't get a Japanese Akita. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I could talk about that for ages, but I will not. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that little review.